So what I'm going to demonstrate is dent removal. So on this piece right here, this is a pretty mild dent. So that's an easy example. These are the tools I would use to remove the dents from this creamer. And what I want to do is I want to find a stake. They're called forming stakes. And what I want to do is I want to find one that matches the profile of the curve fairly closely. And then these need to be high polished so that they don't scratch up the metal a whole lot when I'm using it to remove that dent. The first thing I'm going to do is polish this up a little bit. I'm going to use the buffing wheel here. Okay, so now I'm going to take my forming stake and I'll put it into the stake holder. This is a stake plate. And then to remove the dent, I'm gonna use a process called burnishing, and I'm gonna use downward pressure on the stake to just push the dent out. Okay, so we're getting close. So now I think I need a little bit smaller stake to get the rest of that out. I'm gonna use this stake that I've made to get into that tight area. Same way I did with the other one. Just use that polished point to work that dent out. This is getting much better. So to take out any areas where I went a little bit too far burnishing it, I'm going to use a hand burnisher. But because I don't want to scratch up the outside, I'm actually going to use the wood handle instead of the actual burnishing point. And I'm just gonna go over that surface. Okay, so I think I've done a pretty good job of getting that dent out. So the last thing to do is to polish it up, and that'll tell me for sure if I'm done. Here's our little silver creamer. It had a dent in it right here, and so we went through the process of burnishing out the dents and polishing it up, and now it's good as new. This is a pewter candelabra with silver plating, and the way I know that is by the material. I look at the break and I take my scraper tool here and I can just actually peel up some of it, and because it's so soft, I know that this is pewter and not something else like brass or silver. Because this is pewter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to low temperature solder it back together. And low temperature solder is a lot like the stuff you use for electrical soldering. This has a melting temperature somewhere between 400 and 600 degrees. So we're going to use an iron to solder this back together. Because before I can solder this together, I have to clean up the edge of where it broke. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to grind a bevel that's going to give me somewhere to flow my solder into. So now I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, and that's going to give me a nice V to lay the solder into. So I'm going to check the fit. Looks pretty good. Okay, this is flux. I'm going to paint it on the joint where I'm going to solder. This is going to help the solder stick to the joint by keeping the metal clean through the heating process. So now I'm going to light my torch. Turn my gas on, strike the flame, a little bit bigger. I'm going to use that to heat up my copper iron. This is how I'm going to apply the solder to the piece. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the piece where it needs to be, make sure it's all lined up. Tack it together. So that should hold it well enough for me to get it at a better position to finish welding up the rest. So now I've laid it on its side so that I can use gravity to my advantage to finish soldering up this seam. Now the best way to know for sure if I got it all the way on there right is pull on it and it's on there. So we're good.